on Rosh Hashana that falls out on Shabbos, our sages tell us we do not blow the shofar. Rabbah says the reason why we don't blow the shofar is because we are afraid that someone may carry the shofar in a public domain in order to find out if a shofar is kosher or to use on Rosh Hashana or not. And in order to avoid any possible violation of the Shabbos, Rabbah says we do not blow the shofar on Shabbos. Our sages ask the obvious question, and that is, shofar is such a holy, sublime, uplifting experience and mitzvah that lifts us up to heights that we cannot accomplish on our own. It comes from an animal, a docile animal, that shows of our commitment and dedication to God. How can the fact that in the remote possibility that someone may not know whether the shofar is kosher or not, will carry it out, cancel everybody else not blowing the shofar? Sidness explains that a human being have many levels of delight, many levels that bring us great pleasure. Each level is deeper than the other. We know we have our five senses, our taste, our smell, our hearing, our seeing. All these things enhance our experience of this world and enhance our delights that we come in contact with. When we do a mitzvah, we connect to God. We connect to God on many levels. But each mitzvah we do, each time we fulfill one of the commandments of God, we connect to God on a deeper, more sublime level, on a more delightful level, a more pleasurable level. We include all our senses in this connection to God and this relationship with God. Every mitzvah enhances another part of our being and our relationship with God. When we sound the shofar, we are coronating God as king, reminding ourselves that God is our ruler and we accept God's decrees, God's rulership, and it evokes within God to rule over us as well. When Shabbos falls out on Rosh Hashana, the shofar is not sounded. The shofar comes from a very high level of spiritual delight. Shabbos, we are told, comes from a lower level of delight. So normally we need to have the shofar in order to bring down the highest level of spiritual light from above and enhance and fill us with this spiritual benefit, spiritual blessing. When Rosh Hashana falls out on Shabbos, what is being accomplished at that moment is that Shabbos, the day itself, allows us to tap into all of our spiritual senses, all of our spiritual delights, all of the highest levels of connection that we can possibly enter into that connection and relationship with God. For example, when we're sitting with friends or with family, sometimes we need an icebreaker or a game to play in order to bring us together. But there are other times when we just simply feel connected. We're just sitting there alone. Some days it's a conversation, some days it's not even a conversation, just simply sitting in the same room together. That itself just brings a certain warmth that we have to another. Shabbos is that time when we're just there in intimate presence with God. We're one with God. Every single part of who we are is one with God. So when Rosh Hashana falls out on Shabbos, the Shabbos delight itself brings us to such a high level that we do not need the shofar in order to bring us into that connection, that relationship with God. Any other time we need the shofar. Sunday we need to blow the shofar to connect to God. If it's on a Friday or a Wednesday, we also need to blow the shofar. But on Shabbos, the day itself is such a holy day, such a holy time, such an island of spiritual connection that we are uplifted and we draw down at the same moment the highest spiritual energies in that relationship with God, where we crown God as king and we recognize that ultimately we are God's subjects. This is why we don't blow the shofar when Rosh Hashana falls out on Shabbos.